everybody. Welcome to episode 46 of Weighing In with Andy Hamilton and David Mirikitani. I'm Andy Hamilton, coming to you from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum in Waterloo, Iowa, joined, as always, from the St. Louis suburbs by David Mirikitani. David, welcome back. How are things down south?
It's hot and sticky, but everything's good, sir. How are you doing?
Doing well. I've always kind of said I don't think there's any place on earth that's hotter than Missouri in late July. You know, the hottest I've ever been in my entire life, I think, is at in St. Louis or Kansas City at ball games.
Yeah.
In the middle of summer.
It's a place where you need to find shade. Yeah, for sure. Although I see, I know you're doing work outside, getting everything set up in your new home, so you must be dealing with the heat as well, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be picking deck stain out from underneath my fingernails, I think, for probably about 3 weeks. But, yeah, that's all done, and going to put a chain link fence next week. So lots of stuff going on. And getting ready to go to Finland.
Yeah, I'm jealous, man. That's awesome.
Excuse me, I'm going to leave a week from Friday, the 28th of July. So be in Finland for 11 days and then back for 11 days and then off to Paris for the Senior World Championships and staying over there for the Cadet World Championships. So I've never been out of the United States, and here over the course of the next 7 weeks, I think I've got about 18 days left in the United States until September 12th. So looking forward to it. Going to see.
You've never been overseas?
No, I've not. I've been close enough to throw rocks into the Rio Grande and fished in boundary waters, but never on foreign soil. So it's going to be exciting. Lots of incredible wrestling over the course of those 3 tournaments. Dave, you were actually in the...
Get a power strip for the foreign plugs. That's the one piece of advice I can give you when I was in Dubai. This is the first thing I bought when I got there. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually my sister's a flight attendant for United, and we've gone down the checklist of
you're well
do's
prepared.
and don't do's. So
yeah, cool.
In the process of that. But you were in the corner for the Junior World Team Trials out in Lincoln.
I was.
And I don't know how much of that tournament you got a chance to see, but from your vantage point, I know you've watched a lot of these guys. You know, you've seen a ton of Mark Hall. You've seen, Dayton Fix was in your event, the Border Brawl this year. You've seen a lot of these guys compete. What do you think of this junior freestyle team that the United States has assembled? It looks like a lot of firepower on that squad group that can bring home a lot of medals.
Yes, it looks like it's super, super good, the very front line. Like some of the weights, maybe the 5th or 6th best guy isn't a superstar, but in every weight, it looks like, we being USA is really, really good. You know what I mean? Our guy wrestled against Malik Heinzelman, who's really good. I mean, you mentioned Dayton, you mentioned Hall. I mean, guys like Abel Stevenson, you said, he was wrestling Gwiz the other week. I mean, there's just guys like that are they're really good. There's a lot of medals on that team and a lot of medals to be had. I'm jealous. I mean, I'm happy for you. I'm jealous. I think that'd be awesome to go see that stuff. And you're going to have, you'll do a great job reporting, but you're going to have just personal memories of these guys, 10 years later, not only the Americans, but the other guys that are wrestling, those will be the Olympians, 5, 8, 10 years from now. So that's going to really be cool. But yeah, I think America would do really well. It's just hard, right? Like you don't have a scouting report. It's not like how good your guy is, even in the state tournament or the national tournament, or like for us in the NCAA tournament where we do these rankings and we kind of know what's an upset or not. It's really kind of hard to know how good somebody is from Azerbaijan or Russia or Romania or Bulgaria, all of these things. I mean, you can look at rankings, but there's no common opponents to speak of. It's really difficult. But I know Cody Bickley's super excited about that team. And when I talked to Bill Zadig, He was really excited about it. And I know Kevin Jackson is really excited about it too. So if those guys are that excited, I think we probably have as good a team. I think we do.
It's amazing how much age division success the United States has had here in the last 4 or 5 years, comparative to comparing that to what had transpired maybe over the course of the previous 15 or 20 years. It just seems like the dam has broken here, and the United States has kind of figured it out. And I don't know exactly why, if you want to credit just the access to video that's out there now, so many kids being so much more advanced than ever before just because of the library of video that's out there to study top wrestlers from around the world. I think the regional training centers and the club system has been vital in that as well. But what we're seeing now, and we spoke to this, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, about how much depth, and you touched upon it just a couple of minutes ago, just how much depth there is in the United States at these weight classes, and man, it's been impressive to see. What, from your vantage point, what do you see that's led to this?
I'm obviously biased towards what our guests say, and Bickley's a really impressive guy, and he talked about how the RTCs have had a huge impact. I also just think overall, I made the world team in '86. I'm old, but back then, guys weren't training with each other. I was training with guys on my dad's college team. That was it, because they were close. There's no cell phones back then. There's no social media. Now, all these kids all know each other, and all right, we're going to all go to Andy's gym and work out tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to go to David's gym and work out, and I'll call so-and-so coach who's unbelievable at leg place, and he'll come up and he'll teach all of us. I think there's a spirit of cooperation and in the best states and in the best cities where, it doesn't matter if, I'm from the jurisdiction right next to you, and we might wrestle in the state finals. And you said something which was really cool last week when we spoke, how Brands was helping out Jason Nolf, I think you said. Nolf or Zane, but I think it was Nolf you said, but that these coaches from other schools are helping kids to, they're trying to beat next year. If I have it right, it was Nolf. But either way, it's either Nolf or Zane, and they're going to wrestle Kemmer or Sorensen. And, but I think that's a lot of it. It's just the spirit of cooperation. I don't know that can be underestimated. And, we also have a lot of, we have the biggest pool of people to pick from just in terms of population, so we should be good. It's just wrestling's not our national sport like it is, like in Iran and some other places like that. So I just think it's a much more concentrated effort. When I talked to Gary Mayab, he talked about how all these kids are going to be prepped for the junior world team. When we would go to Fargo, it's like we have a 5-day camp and then you go. That was it. There was no prep. There was no nothing. Things are way more organized now, and guys like Joe Russell and guys like Gary Mayab, I think, will continue to elevate that process.
Yeah, indeed. And then to touch upon what your point was about Terry Brands and Jason Nolf and Thomas Gilman, to kind of clarify that a little bit, they were working on some parterre stuff. So I don't know that we're going to see Jason Nolf trying to ankle lace or gut wrench Michael Kemmerer, but it was, to your point, it was pretty interesting that that you get to that level and it's all about the red, white, and blue. It's not about the Nittany Lions and the Hawkeyes and that so much, the college stuff anymore. But it was really unique to see those relationships. The college walls being broken down or whatever you want to say. But anyway, stay on this topic real quick. As I mentioned, 2 weeks, or we're, I think, less than 10 days, about 10 days out from the start of the Junior World Championships. Those things are going to get going August 1st in Tampere, Finland. Also, right now, as we record this, we're 34 days out from the World Championships, Senior World Championships in Paris, France. And final tune-up for USA Wrestling, 7 golds for men's freestyle, 2 golds for women's freestyle. Tamira Mensah and Becca Leathers brought home gold from the Grand Prix of Spain. So those are the kind of results you want to see in final tune-ups. And I'm sure Jaden Cox has got the pedal down trying to get ready as well in short order here for, these last 5 weeks or so in his tune-up for France. Anything else on your mind from a freestyle standpoint, David? Freestyle Greco?
I just saw one of the results from Fargo that kind of speaks to what you're talking about. There was a kid that just won the Junior Pan Ams in both styles, and I don't remember his name, so I'm not going to say I don't want to get it wrong. He was up at 6-0, and then the other kid scored 16 straight points and teched him. So, I mean, that just shows, like, you spoke about this last week, that as good as some of these age group teams are doing, we're not always even sending our number one guy, and they're still doing great. So it just shows there is a lot of depth. And I think I'm just always impressed with how many parents make the commitment to their kids and to the sport, and they spend the money and they spend the time to help these kids become great. And I talked to a father who his son just won Fargo, and he told me the amount of money he thinks he spent in a year, because in the last X amount of years. And I was like, if you just stuck that in a savings account, you probably have enough for a full ride by the time college came anyway. And, but we also talk about what the value of the sport brings all of our lives, and especially those of us that wrestle, like it's that saying that Gable says, once you wrestled, everything else is easy. And, the highs in our sport are as high as anything gets when when a kid achieves his goal and that kid and you can be proud of him or her, and that's going to change them for the better for the rest of their lives. So I continue to be truly, truly impressed by parents and their commitment to it, to their children and to our sport. I think it's awesome.
Well, the big news that broke Monday, we're recording this Tuesday evening, but the big news that broke late Monday afternoon and something you kind of had your fingers on the pulse on that was in the works here for a while was Eric Guerrero, longtime Oklahoma State assistant, leaving the Cowboys, going to be jumping to the other side of the Bedlam series, going to be the Oklahoma Regional Training Center head coach. David, you knew Eric was leaving or had a hunch that Eric was leaving. Did his destination, how much of a surprise was this to you that this is where he landed?
Not much, really. I know Eric's, a family man, and, I know he didn't want to uproot or disrupt his kids, what they're doing. And his wife is entrenched in the community, and I think they just have a lot of fans. I mean, I know they have to move, from city to city, but not all the way across the country and stuff like that. And, for those people that don't know, I mean, I have a personal relationship with Eric, and, we've talked a lot just over the years about a lot of things, and, he's a guy that understood RTCs for a long time. I think it's a little, weird for him. I think we're going to have him on Matt Chat, hopefully soon, but he spent half his life in Stillwater. He's been there since college, and he was 18 and he's 40 now. So I think anytime you leave, it's like anything. You leave with a lot of great memories, and it's a new challenge. And I know he has all the respect in the world for John. I know John respects Eric tremendously. So, I think there's some things that are in motion there, too. I think Eric will do great in Norman. I think he and Lou Rosselli really, really have a lot of respect for each other. I've talked to Eric about that for years, what had nothing to do with this. Just, guys that he really respects in the business, and Lou's name was always at the top of the list. So I think that RTC will be really good, really fast. And I think you'll see, Zach Esposito will become the solo associate head coach, and I'm 99% sure that Chris Perry will become the assistant head coach, and Tyler Caldwell will become the volunteer assistant, and then, they'll add somebody as a strength and conditioning coach. So I think it's like a lot of these moves where it could end up being a win-win, for everybody. So I could sense something was going on with Eric, and we're friends long enough that he won't lie to me. He'll just tell me, like, look, I can't talk to you about it. And, when I was there and did the interview with John Smith, Eric and I had dinner and spoke and, talked for a long time. And I could just tell something was percolating. But, now that I do stuff with track, it's different. I'm not just asking as a friend. And sometimes we have off-the-record conversations. So I knew about this before it happened. But I'm happy for him. I'm happy for his family. And I'm happy for Chris Perry and for Tyler Caldwell, for those guys to be able to step up and have their chance at the next level up the totem pole.
How crazy is it if you would have said back in January that Brent Metcalf would be at Iowa State and Eric Guerrero would be at Oklahoma?
Yeah, and Mark Perry would be back at Iowa. Yeah, you play the trifecta on that, you would have gotten good odds, right?
Mm-hmm. But I think, it also speaks to it speaks volumes to just, the emphasis being put on RTCs and how college programs are seeing the incredible benefits of sinking the resources in there. I mean, you only get 9.9 scholarships. There's only so much you can do there. There's only so many coaches you can have on your college staff. Roster limitations. You only put 10 guys in your lineup at a time, but a lot of people are seeing the value here in surrounding your guys with people that they're not the best guy in their room anymore. Yeah, surrounding them with greatness. That's a great way of putting it. I mean, you look at Zane Rutherford and you got the returning Hodge winner who just mauled through the postseason this year and teched and pinned his way through the postseason. And then you get into his room and, not the same way as it was. It's not the same now as what it was during the college season, but you look back at the college season, he had Frank Molinaro, who was, came within an eyelash of winning bronze last year. Yeah. And you also had Franklin Gomez in there, a world silver medalist, both at the same weight class. And then, we've mentioned at length all of the other guys from Rutherford on up in that Penn State order. But, you get further up and Bo Nichols rolling around with David Taylor and so on and so forth. So just obviously when we've seen it for years and years that when guys are surrounded, when they're not the best guy in their room, the growth continues to happen at such a fast pace. So indeed, It's been interesting. And while we're on the topic of college wrestling, I don't know if you have any more to add to that, by all means, go ahead. But while we're on the topic of college wrestling, we talked off air about what Michigan's got going on. And, in terms of breaking news, some other stuff that broke over the weekend, Joey Silva, the stud out of Florida, 4-time Florida State champ, top 10 overall national recruit by Intermat. 33, 41 pounder, just a guy super physical. Love the way he wrestles. He's going to become a Michigan Wolverine. David, some good things going on in Ann Arbor right now.
Yes, for sure. Silva, Ben Freeman, Drew Matton, and you and I talked about this on air and off air, that we think Michigan and Arizona State are probably the two teams that can make, at least on paper, the biggest jump next year. And it feels like it may not just be like a one-year jump. It feels like, maybe they can jump levels and stay there for a while. So, it was interesting. My mom and dad actually just went up to Ann Arbor last week and got to see the facilities and visit Cliff Keen and all that stuff and just had a blast. And, they're fans, but they're not, hardcore nerds. And, my mom called me, she's like, how good are they going to be? And I'm like, they're going to be really good. And, you broke the Silva story, and that's another key piece to the puzzle. And they've had really good success with, Florida kids in the past. To go back to what you were saying, like about Zane and, all these different rooms, and you're saying it perfectly, right? You can only have X amount of coaches, you can have Y amount of scholarships, and, you can only have Z amount of weight classes, and, this many, you're only allowed to practice this many hours a day. And so you obviously have to look for edges. You have to look for where you can get a competitive advantage. And what's really interesting is it's a chicken and the egg kind of thing with getting greatness. You've got to convince people that you're going to be great when you're not. Like Mizzou with Ben Askren. That changed the whole culture of that program forever. He won nationals there. He made an Olympic team there. I guarantee you that was tremendously helpful in recruiting a Jayden Cox. If they had never done that before, it would have been a lot harder. And so certain people have to be the pioneers, and a guy like Ben was. And, Oklahoma has a history of greatness, but it's been a long time. And, but Vercelli was the Olympic or the USA Wrestling Coach of the Year. I mean, Eric's an Olympian. He's coached a lot of great guys. When you start getting great guys, it makes it easier to get other great guys. Like if they can get Deringer, then that makes it a lot easier to get other guys around that weight class to come in. And that's the whole thing. You said it right. It's, you don't ever want to be the best guy in your room because people will end up catching you. And that's, you're trying to build levels of greatness and depth in greatness, where, the guy who's ranked number 7th on the U.S. ladder is happy to be there, not like he's there demanding money like he's the best guy. So, it ties to like what Wayne Boyd was saying, like Titan Mercury and Sunkissed Kids, they help with these kids a lot, not kids, young men, achieve their goals by helping them financially. So the RTCs are going to continue to be a major thing and a major theme. And, I've known Joe McFarland for years, John Burnett for years. I mean, Joe actually recruited me. I'm excited for Michigan. I think they're going to be really, really good. Logan Mass's dad wrestled for my dad, so there's a lot of connections there. I think they're going to be a really fun program to watch this year.
Anything else you want to talk about this week?
I don't know that there's a lot going on, and no. I mean, next week there'll be some stuff, and the UFC has a huge card next week with a bunch of ex-wrestlers on it, so maybe we'll touch on that. But yeah, I'm super excited for you to make those overseas trips. I can't wait to hear about them when you come back. I know it's going to be an awesome opportunity for you, and I'm glad to see Track sending the best in the business. You're going to get a chance to go.
Well, we may be recording an episode in a couple weeks from Tampere, Finland, and who knows where I'll be 3 weeks from now, whether I'll be, I think I'll probably be back in Cedar Valley by then, maybe exhausted, but
if we did one from Dubai, we can do one from Finland.
Exactly. You
just have to teach me how to use the 800 number, and I'll do it.
Yep, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen somehow, some way. So, David, who do you have lined up for Match Chat here coming up?
A bunch of people. Zeke Jones is going to come on this week. I'm also interviewing Kevin Dresser. I'm really excited to talk to him, both those guys. I had a cool conversation with Zeke at Lincoln, and, Kevin Dresser and I spoke and, talked to him about what they're doing at Iowa State. And then I've talked to Sammy Julian, and he's going to come on, again, to talk about refereeing and all that stuff. And then I'm anticipating getting an interview with Eric this week as well. I don't know if it'll be like a, half an hour, 45-minute one, like a TED Talk, but I do think we'll talk for at least 15 or 20 minutes and, kind of let everyone hear his perspective directly on his time in Stillwater and what he's looking forward to in Norman. And that's, I think people want to hear that kind of stuff. So we're trying to do our best to, find people. If people have people they want to have as a guest, they can always, send an email into Track Wrestling or, send me a message on Facebook, and I'll do my best to try to get them. But yeah, I'm excited about all those people coming up. I think they're going to all be really, really good in their own way. Well,
David Mirikitani, it's been a short but sweet episode of Weighing In.
Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to add this week?
No, it's been fun.
Well, that's been it for episode 46 of Weighing In with Andy Hamilton and Dave Mirikitani. Thank you all for listening. If you want to listen and download and listen on the go, you can certainly do so through the Mat Talk Podcast Network. Otherwise, you can go to trackwrestling.com. If you are listening to us on the Mat Talk Podcast Network, you can go to trackwrestling.com and check out all of the coverage that's going to be coming your way over the course of the next 7 weeks, from Junior World Championships, Senior World Championships, Cadet World Championships. Got the countdown to Paris going on right now, 34 days out. American Greco star D'Angelo Hancock featured in today's episode of that. Got a big throw from him in the Pan Am Finals. It's in the middle of that match. So we'll have some other top international stars being featured for the course of the next 5 weeks there. So be sure to check out all of that. And thanks again for listening this week to Weighing In.
This show is part of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MatTalkOnline.com.